Duality is not what most believe it to be. It is not the clash of good against evil, nor the conflict between light and darkness. These are superficial interpretations of something far more structural, far more foundational. True duality operates not as opposition, but as complementary function, two principles working in tandem to shape the entirety of human experience. These are the solar and lunar forces, and they exist not outside of you, but is the very fabric of your consciousness itself. The solar principle is the active, the directive, the illuminating force. It is conscious awareness turned outward and inward with intention. It is the will that chooses, the attention that focuses, the clarity that discerns. The solar does not receive, it projects. It does not reflect, it originates. It is the part of you that decides what to contemplate, where to direct energy, what to give importance. In ancient systems, this was symbolized by the sun, unchanging in its essence, radiating light, making visible what was once hidden in shadow. The lunar principle is the receptive, the formative, the reflective force. It is the subconscious depth, the emotional body, the storehouse of patterns and impressions. The lunar does not initiate, it responds. It does not create, it organizes and magnifies what has been given to it. It receives the projections of the solar and shapes them into form, into habit, into emotion, into the substance of lived experience. The moon does not generate its own light, it reflects the light of the sun. And so too does the lunar mind reflect what the solar mind consistently impresses upon it. These are not metaphors for male and female, though many traditions have conflated them as such. They are structural modes of operation present within every human being regardless of form. To understand consciousness is to understand how these two forces interact, how they depend upon one another, and how their balance or imbalance determines the quality of your inner and outer life. Consider the relationship between seed and soil. The seed carries intention, direction, the blueprint of what will grow. But the seed cannot manifest alone. It requires soil, receptive, nourishing, patient. The soil does not decide what grows. It accepts what is planted and provides the conditions for that seed to take root and expand. If the seed is weak or corrupted, the soil will still magnify it. If no seed is planted, the soil remains fertile but fallow. The lunar is the soil. What grows between them is your reality. Or think of fire and field. Fire illuminates, transforms, purifies. It is immediate and consuming. But fire without containment becomes destruction. The field absorbs the ash, cycles the nutrients, sustains the growth that follows. The field does not resist the fire. It integrates what the fire leaves behind. The solar burns through illusion and reveals truth. The lunar receives that truth and allows it to settle into structure, into form, and to continuity. The conscious mind, solar in nature, is volitional. It has the power to choose where attention rests, what thoughts are entertained, what beliefs are affirmed or rejected. But this power is often unused. Most walk through life allowing the conscious mind to drift, to react, to be pulled by external stimuli, without deliberate direction. And when the solar mind abdicates its role, the lunar mind continues its function regardless. It reflects and magnifies whatever impressions dominate the inner landscape, whether chosen or not. This is why repetition matters. This is why what you consistently contemplate becomes your internal reality. The lunar principle does not discern quality, it only recognizes constancy. If fear is repeated, it is magnified. If gratitude is repeated, it is magnified. If limitation is the dominant tone of your inner dialogue, the lunar mind will organize your emotions, habits, and perceptions around limitation. It is not punishing you, it is functioning as designed. The problem arises when there is imbalance. Excess solar force without lunar depth becomes tyranny of will, It becomes the ego demanding control, burning through without integration, forcing outcomes without allowing receptivity. This is the person who acts without feeling, who pushes without pausing, who mistakes intensity for mastery. They illuminate endlessly, but create nothing lasting, because they refuse the soil, the depth, the formative patience required for true creation. Conversely, excess lunar passivity, without solar direction, becomes drift. It becomes emotional looping, unconscious reaction, the perpetuation of inherited patterns without examination. This is the person who feels deeply but acts without clarity, who absorbs every impression without filtering. He becomes a mirror for their environment rather than an agent within it. They are fertile ground, but no deliberate seed has been planted, and so weeds grow. Mastery is not the suppression of one principle in favor of the other. It is their integration. It is the conscious directing of attention and intention in alignment with receptive depth and emotional clarity. It is planting the seed deliberately and tending the soil with care. It is allowing the fire to illuminate without letting it consume, and allowing the field to receive without becoming stagnant. Alchemy spoke of sulfur and mercury, the active and passive principles that must be united to produce transformation. Hermetic philosophy described spirit and soul, spirit as the animating force, soul as the receptive vessel that gives spirit form. These are not poetic abstractions. They are descriptions of the inner mechanics of consciousness. When the solar and lunar principles are in coherence, you experience alignment. Your conscious intentions are received by the subconscious without resistance. What you will begins to manifest because there is no internal contradiction between directive and receptive. You think clearly, feel deeply, and act decisively, not as separate functions, but as unified movement. But coherence requires work. It requires you to take responsibility for what you project inwardly. It requires you to recognize that the lunar mind will magnify whatever the solar mind feeds it, and therefore your task is not to suppress emotion or eliminate the subconscious, but to become deliberate about what you impress upon it. This is the true practice, not affirmations spoken without belief, not forced positivity layered over doubt, but the patient, consistent redirection of attention toward truth. You are not solar or lunar, you are both. And the degree to which you understand and harmonize these principles within yourself determines whether you live as a reactor or a creator, whether you drift through experience or architect it. The solar gives light, the lunar gives form. Together, they give life.